You either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And last year, we covered the largest shark movie ever.
We did.
This year, we're going to need a larger shark.
We found a larger shark.
We found a larger shark.
Currently, the largest shark.
I don't know.
Well,
mainstream largest shark.
Yes. Mainstream largest shark.
Yeah.
We watched The Meg.
Meg.
Not Megalodon. That's a different movie, Mom. The Meg. There is a movie called Megalodon.
Okay.
It's not as good.
I don't doubt it. Sounds like something from the Sci-Fi Channel.
It would be at home there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, our second annual shark/oceanic movie.
Yay! Shark Week!
Yeah.
/ for me, Shark Month.
I'll stick with my aliens.
Fair.
So yes, we watched The Meg.
Yes.
And for that, before we get into the movie, I learned that for our drink today, because I was trying to find a Thai beer.
Sure.
Our alcohol stores do not carry Thai beers.
No, not here.
And on top of that, I learned all the import Asian beers are from Canada.
Oh, well, I guess that is technically imported.
Technically. Or the other ones are brewed in California under supervision.
That also makes sense.
Yeah.
To be fair, that'd be a really long way to make beer travel.
Yeah, but we import like sake and scotch and stuff.
I think those might be more like fly and boat stable than beer. You do kind of have a deadline on beer.
Yeah, true. / jostling and whatnot.
Yeah. It just feels safer to have a smaller travel distance for beer.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just could be the alcoholic talking.
Fun alcohol facts.
So, we did manage to find a beer that at least feels like it fits the...
Yes.
The
and
drink.
When I showed it to you, what did you think it said?
I still think it says Asian. It reads Asian to me.
We are drinking the super dry Asahi beer.
Yes.
Not Asian beer.
No,
well, I mean,
not Asian.
Technically it is, but...
No, I just can't read.
Yes. Cheers. It's good.
It is good. I like the bottle shape. It makes a good glugging noise.
Good for summers.
Yeah.
So, part of the reason we also chose an Asian beer is because the one drink we ever see them have besides water, Jason Statham is passing them beers in Thailand.
Yes.
Hence why I was trying to find a Thai beer.
Yes.
So, we actually saw The Meg in theaters. I think this was one of the first movies we saw together.
I think so, because... So, one of the friends who convinced me to move down here, her and I have been on a Shark Week binge for the last 10 years.
She is our resident shitty shark movie expert.
And she has drugged me down to the deeps with her. Granted, she has definitely accumulated more of them than I have, because I'm very picky on what I will put into my teeny tiny house.
She also accumulates them because that's the default birthday gift for her.
Which is a good default birthday gift, because then I get to watch them.
Yeah.
And so when The Meg came out, we were both really excited, because normally a really bad shark movie does not hit theaters. And if it does hit theaters, it doesn't hit theaters near us.
Yeah, and on top of that, you guys... The only reason I went to the movie in the first place was because it was Crystal's birthday.
And this is what she wanted.
Exactly. And I've watched a fair amount of shark movies and aquatic creature movies, but creature features aren't necessarily my strong suit to begin with. It's
a specialized fandom group of movies,
or nature horror films.
Yeah.
I watched actually over the weekend I watched a movie called Long Vacation.
Ah, yes.
It's not good.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's bad. Which I would say most animal-specific themed horror-esque thrillers are not good. Jaws was one of the few exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, and I think it's also just kind of the level of craft / as we talked last year, the limitations and Spielberg not getting his way with certain things. Because otherwise, I think Jaws would have been a failure as a film.
Oh, it definitely would have been. And like we said last year, there's a lot of reasons why Jaws did succeed. Which, some of those reasons are the same reasons The Meg, while not being as good as Jaws by a long shot, it knows what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's a self-aware movie.
Oh, it is a very self-aware movie. But unlike a lot of other not great shark movies, this one actively knows what it is, but also is having a really good time being what it is.
Oh yeah, no,
Which is part of the reason why it did do as well as it did, because it was fairly successful.
And there's not... I actually don't have a lot of research on this movie because the featurettes on the DVD are very limited.
Yeah, there's background knowledge of this film. There's not a lot, but this movie's good. I
will say, the director John Turteltaub, he said he wanted to do a horror film. What you know him from, and this will make much more sense to you why you like The Meg.
Yep.
He directed both National Treasures.
Of course he did.
The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Another shitty good movie.
And actually, he's done some other stuff. I know, I haven't seen it, but Phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
He did While You Were Sleeping, which...
Yeah.
Is a great cheesy romance movie.
The man is well versed in these self-aware cheese flicks.
Exactly.
This is his bread and butter.
Oh yeah, and he even mentioned that when they were going to do this movie, they knew that they couldn't, like how Jaws has the slow building suspense of, you know it's a shark, but you don't actually see the shark. He's like, no. we got to dive right into it.
Which, the Jaws not seeing the shark worked for Jaws, because it was kind of the first one to really have that for a shark movie.
Yes.
If The Meg had done that, it would have felt like a blatant ripoff instead of this movie definitely has moments where you go, some Jaws. Yep. You just quoted Jaws. But this movie does it in a way that makes it feel like an homage and a tribute. Like, yes, we know exactly what we're doing, but, we're doing it because we loved Jaws, and now we want a bigger shark. Yeah.
Also, a fun little bit about the movie. Guess where it was filmed?
I know a lot of it was filmed in China.
Nope.
Well, the aerial part was. And then, I don't know, a pool?
It was all filmed in New Zealand.
Ah, blessed New Zealand.
Yep.
Where all good movies come from.
I don't know.
New Zealand just happens to have really nice... Scenery,
yes.
Good job, New Zealand.
But also, I think part of the appeal of this movie is just the casting as well.
Oh yeah, no.
Just because we have the powerhouse of action, Jason Statham,
who could not have been a better pick, because for those of you who don't know, is actually a very good diver and swimmer. He competed in, I think, the Olympics or the pre-Olympic trials for diving.
I think now that you bring that up, I may have heard that. But I know nothing about him. He falls in that weird genre, or that action genre, that I don't generally dive into too frequently.
He does a lot of... You expect, when this man comes on screen, you know he's going to punch and kick at least 2 people. Yeah.
But he's a very attractive man. He's built muscularly. He is kind of one of the personifications of action movies. And he plays a lot of similar roles, but that's okay. He's good at them. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot like watching, you go into his films knowing what you're going to get, kind of like a Jackie Chan movie. Yeah. And then also starring next to him, the actress Li Bingbing, which
I love her.
Might have pronounced that wrong, but that's how it's spelled in English.
That's how I've been hearing it in the interviews that I've seen, but again, I have pronounced my own coworkers' names wrong, and I have worked at the same company for 4 years now, so...
And I had only known her previously from Resident Evil Retribution, where she played Ada Wong.
Yeah, she did great.
And she was also in the god-awful movie, Guardians of the Tomb.
Yes.
Which, oh boy, that is such a bad movie.
I think she ends up in a lot of movies that I watch. But
yeah,
she's more popular in China than she is here.
Yeah, she's in a lot of kung fu movies, and I think she's also a singer on top of that. But I mean, on top of that, I mean, we have the two eye candy pieces.
And honestly, their casting also wasn't just like, hey, let's get the two that are good at this variety of show. Mm-hmm. It was also like, they knew who the two big audiences for this movie were going to be. They knew that this was very heavily going to be watched by Chinese. This was, I think it was even released earlier than it was here in China.
Yeah. See, I didn't do too much digging into its release.
And then, so we've got someone that the American people are going to know. We got someone who the Chinese are going to know, mm-hmm. which helped a lot at the box office. Because if you're going to have a bad shark movie, relying on one place to pull in money isn't really going to do you. But if you have two places that love bad shark movies, now you're working with fire.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of movies start to come out of Hong Kong now as well. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of like that group collaboration where we're starting to bring two major film industries together.
Yeah.
And I mean, the rest of the cast is great too.
Oh yeah, you get
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson, who everyone knows as Dwight.
Winston Chow.
Yep. We get Ruby Rose, who is in a lot of the action movies that I love. She does a wonderful job playing that character, mm-hmm. the slightly sassy.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the other thing, is that it's recognizable faces.
Yeah, it is. The guy who plays Toshi, I think he's from Hawaii Five-0, which I know you don't care about, but
I know him from Heroes and Austin Powers.
Yeah.
He's the guy who is paired up with the other actor who is also in Heroes, but they're the guys in Austin Powers Goldmember where, look, it's Godzilla. No, it is not, due to copyright laws. But still, we should run like it is Godzilla.
Yes. And so everyone in this movie, you will have seen their face somewhere, and the fact that you recognize them, like there's no hiding who these actors are with, a good character design or good dialogue. No. You know exactly who you get, and that's part of the fun.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a good casting.
Yeah.
It fit perfectly, I'd say.
It did.
But even the story itself that's the other thing I kind of like about it too, is if you know what you're going into, they're not reinventing the wheel. They're just upping the wheel.
Yeah.
Making the wheel larger.
Yeah. And the story is very loosely based off of a 1997 book, mm-hmm. Meg, a novel of the deep terror by Steve Alton, I think.
Yeah.
Real loosely though, like we're skimming the top of those pages and calling it a day.
It's like Super Troopers, where they only read the book and only took from one chapter to make the movie.
Yeah, they did do a little bit more from the book for this one than Super Troopers did, but by no means is this movie an homage to the book.
No.
However, if you like the movie, the book is also something you will like.
Okay.
Same feel.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just normally not my thing.
Fair.
But anywho, so actually getting into the movie a little bit.
Yes.
The premise of the movie is we start off with we have kind of a couple things going to begin with.
Yep.
Jason Statham is shown off as this badass deep sea rescuer who has to leave.
Whose name is Jonas. Dun dun dun.
God damn it! I hate that. I hate that so much. It's
okay. They barely call him you. Honestly, it took me 3 times watching this movie to make the connection.
Anywho, so we find out he's this badass deep sea diver who's had to leave some of his team behind, otherwise they would all die.
Yep. And when we say deep sea, like we're crazy far down. Like at the beginning, when this is supposed to be the like normal mm-hmm. scientific part where you don't need to suspend belief, it's already way past the depth that like we currently would consider.
Yeah, which the ocean is terrifying to begin with.
The ocean is terrifying, and it will crush you.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're already introduced that, hey, there is something down here.
There is something down here. But we don't know what. But we do, because if you pause it, you can totally see the shark being blown up.
the movie's also called The Meg.
Yeah, so like you know what you're getting into. I will say that I like the details that they bothered to put into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It helps raise it from a B- to a B+ shark movie for me. So, example is, we could have left this whole beginning portion out.
Yeah.
And the story would not have changed.
Yeah, we could have easily started off with, and even we could have spliced parts of it into it later as like backstory to the character. We could have started off with Rainn Wilson's character coming in and and just being introduced. Okay, they're in this deep sea ocean facility. He's spent $1 billion on the facility, and they're going into the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, and they could have like even just briefly in passing talked about this Jonas guy as like, oh yeah, you've heard about him and the tragedy that happened, and have like a newspaper flash across the screen and call it a day. But they didn't. They bothered to show us his struggle and why he has decided to quit deep sea rescue diving.
Yeah, and honestly, now that you brought that up, that might have been an interesting way to introduce him, because we're already under the assumption that we know he's a badass because one, it's Statham.
Yeah.
But what they could have, like, that would have been a different tone to the movie as well, because then you bring him in, and the first time we see him, he's a drunkard living in Thailand.
Which does... that part does make me giggle, because the first part is fairly, like, deeply thought out. Like, they bother to show a Geiger counter before he takes his mask off to prove that, like, yes, we are aware this is a nuclear sub, but we're good.
Yeah.
This isn't, like, yeah, you need to see his face because that's why you're here, but, like, it's okay, he's not gonna die.
Yeah, exactly.
They do, at the beginning, take a lot of that into consideration, and then, while I'm not saying it's not realistic, I just find the trope funny that they went immediately to him being an alcoholic on a beach in Taiwan, as opposed to, like, I don't know, shooting heroin, or, you know, studying farther and becoming a professor of literature.
Or just being a farmer. Well, I think, I'll go into it a little bit afterwards.
Granted, story-wise, I get it. Like, we need a trope that's easily overcome, but not so easily overcome that it's not an impressive task. Well,
I want to get into when we meet him a little bit, once we get further into the plot of the movie.
Yeah, because...
because
we need to know who everyone else is that we're, you know, saving from the Meg.
Yeah. And so we're introduced to the crew of this deep-sea diving facility. We learn...
A very coolly designed deep-sea diving facility.
It is... And even he comments on the elevator. Well, can't it be better? Well, honestly, that annoys me a little bit from an architectural standpoint, too, because it's a freight elevator. They're moving equipment in and out. It's going to bang up whatever pretty finishes you put in there.
If anything, like, if you want a pretty elevator, have a different pretty elevator. But at the same time, I get it, because the unspoken bit is the top part is supposed to look like an oil freight. Or oil tower, whatever you call them. And then the bottom part is the cool underwater secret science base.
Yeah.
Which, if you wanted to think deeply about it, sure, there's a lot of reasons why you could possibly want to do that. And so, you're probably not going to have a cool elevator in an oil rig. You're going to have a freight elevator. Yeah,
we also learned that the CEO is very, or the owner is very stereotypical media or business mogul of some kind, because he has that confidence, and we find out that he thinks he knows Chinese, but he doesn't.
He isn't, yep.
But I also learned that for Americans, or European speakers, Chinese is very hard because it's a tonal language.
Yes.
And so we don't understand that, which we were watching, it was for your husband's birthday when we were watching It Man. There's that part where apparently there's a line that Mike Tyson says, and
Please note, we watched the third one, not the first.
Oh god, it's so bad.
The first one is amazing. The second one is a beautiful... continuation. The third one's garbage, and I love it.
But there's a line where he says something, but it translated to him talking about Wi-Fi or something. And it became a running joke.
It just didn't work.
That we as Americans wouldn't catch because we don't hear those that well.
Yeah, and that was something that I found. And I speak American. That's it. But I read that the bottom translation for once he terribly attempts to greet in Chinese, the response that the two fluent speakers respond with that wasn't even translated correctly. It was supposed to be more something along the lines of, what dialect is he trying to speak?
Yeah. But, and honestly, he's kind of the stereotypical American.
And he's very over the top, but like, it's nice to have someone who you are rooting to be eaten in a shark movie. Yeah,
it's very fitting. And he shows up at the perfect time where they're just about to launch the ship.
The one thing that does bother the absolute shit of me is this is something like $1.3 billion facility or some crazy number, right? And he gets there and they're explaining like, oh, you're just in time to see us get to the bottom of the trench. And like, and he's like, well, what happens if you're wrong? And they're like, well, you've wasted $1.3 billion. Excuse me, why would you not have had this conversation way before?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Granted, I understand having money to throw around, but that's a lot of money to just throw at something and just not care what happens to it.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, the other thing, too, that we're introduced is that
we get the rest of the cast at this point.
They're all kind of an edgy...
Oh, yeah, no,
they're the edgelords of the shitty shark movies.
Yes, and normally the edgelords of the shitty shark movies are the cringy ones that you don't really want. You either get that or you get the standard horror movie jock and pretty girls.
Yeah.
So
they're not the basement dwelling neckbeards.
No. But I do like that they went with
They're what the basement dwelling neckbeards wish they were.
Yes. Yes. But I like their character designs because as all of them are being introduced, they are very briefly giving us like a tiny resume of why they're on the team. So we get a designer who's edgy, and honestly, like, I know some designers who look like her and act like her. Like, and if you're going to be building a $1.3 billion underwater building, you can do your hair however you want.
Yeah.
No one's gonna tell you no.
You have the two nerdy tech guys in the sub who are obsessed with sex, food, and power.
And they're so adorable.
Insertion.
It's so stupid, but it's so good.
But I mean, it's the same shitty humor that I have with like your husband.
Yeah, no, and like it's on point humor, and they're stuck down there with what we find out to be the badass's ex-wife, who
was an eco-terrorist.
Who's an eco-terrorist who it is implied that she worked for the same unnamed anti-whaling community who once throw rancid soap on a ship through. So, you know. And
may or may not have launched torpedoes at commercial whaling vessels.
You know, if you've watched the really bad documentaries, it's that one. You're thinking of the same one, don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
And so we get them, we get the director, who's arguably the most normal person there, Grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get his daughter, who is, again, arguably the most normal one there, but she's also given a lot of, like, degrees at some point that I don't remember them.
He's the visionary and she's the brains behind it. That's what it feels like.
And then on top of that, we're informed that not only is she, like, incredibly educated, but she's also a very accomplished diver, which, you know, if you're gonna have a shark movie, you might as well put that on somebody's resume.
Yeah, get them all. And then we have, later on, we learn the black tech guy can't swim.
Which is hilarious, but I at least like that he's not originally there as just, like, the guy who can't swim. He's originally there because he has an actual, like, degree in this and is there as an actual scientist. He just happens to not be able to swim.
And I learned the little girl, what's her name? Mei Ying? Apparently he and her were buddies throughout the film. And because, if I remember, he saves her at some point in the water.
I think, yeah. Well... Yes, and then she tells him stop splashing.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
Yeah, but, like, she apparently couldn't really swim either.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was her learning to swim was for this movie.
Aw. And to be honest, normally, especially for B-level horror movies, even though this one had a massive budget, it was a B movie.
Yeah.
And it knew that. And so normally when you get a B movie, the kid actors are a real hit or miss on whether or not they are going to portray what they need to well, especially for a shark movie, because most of this is green screen. There is no giant shark for her to react to, which for kids is a lot harder. Yeah, because in some ways it can be a bit easier too, because kids are more imaginative. Yeah, and she did a phenomenal job. Oh yeah, she was arguably one of the better characters. And that's the thing is, like, I like the cast. It feels like a natural
casting of characters. It's
yeah,
not
they feel like they would all jive well enough together stuck on the bottom of the ocean.
They don't feel like, oh, we're doing this B horror film where we're going to throw in these stereotypical characters.
And we found this guy on the street. Like, no, everything felt intentional with who they picked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, anywho, they're going down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and they have this theory that it's not really the bottom, but there's a thin layer of some type of dense water gas or liquid that's...
like mud. There's like a layer of mud.
Yeah, or something. And then they insert themselves.
It's just so stupid.
into the...
I will say, at this point in the movie, multiple times I have thought to myself, what if you're not wrong, but what if that layer is, like, really thick, dense mud, and you got, like, a couple feet worth to go through? How, like, sad and gross would have that have been? Just...
I mean, it's not unbelievable. There are parts of the ocean that are denser.
Sure,
you have you have, like, these salt deposits where, I've stumbled upon horror, like, I found... not happy videos of fish and eels swimming into these brine pools and just suffering massive toxic shock.
Well, and I think there's a couple videos demonstrating how things, even underwater, float on top of this specific pool of water. So, like, is the science in this movie completely bogus? Of course it is.
Yes.
However, unlike a lot of shark movies where you are asked to completely suspend all belief in everything, this one asks you to just kind of ignore facts, which I feel like is a lot easier for a lot of people.
And this one does it in a more believable way than, say, a sci-fi movie like Planet of the Sharks or something.
Sure. Yeah, no, this one, is it stupid? Yes. But is it stupid in a way where it's like, yeah, okay, why not?
It's one of those movies where you can easily suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, especially because, unlike a lot of other giant shark movies that I've seen, this one, the shark is not made in a lab. It just is still down there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's not just free roaming the ocean and we've just never noticed it. It's stuck under a layer.
Well, okay.
So, like, you wouldn't have known it was there because it's stuck under this layer. But
yeah, and I mean, my biggest thing for that, too, is they're under that layer, but where's the oxygen coming from?
That part we don't get to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I mean, it's...
like, if you think about it too much, it is complete bogus.
Yeah, it's stupid science.
It is stupid science. But it's just smart enough stupid science that you're like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's visit this Hollow Earth theory.
Yeah, Bruce Willis crawling through the vents in Die Hard. Okay, I'll believe it for this moment.
Strongest cables on Earth.
Oh, God, I can't remember. I was watching something over the past week, and they were doing that, and it just...
Yep.
Oh, no, I got to a part in Final Fantasy VII, and I was bitching about it to my cousin.
If you like action and horror movies, don't become an architect or an engineer. It'll just ruin all of them for you.
No, it's... we'll have to do a whole episode of just bitching about architecture in movies.
I have a lot of complaints about the glass in movies.
Although... We'll get to it a little bit further. The glass in this one's kind of believable.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the technology that they make in this one because they do give their own technology limits. Granted, the limits are crazy and unrealistic.
Yeah.
But a good example of the technology limit that they gave is they thought to themselves, okay, the sub that goes all the way down to the bottom, there's no way we can get glass down there. That's just not realistic. So instead they have screens, which act like glass and give the same effect without then someone being like, well, actually... Well,
and that's very true to deep-sea submersibles, is they generally don't have a lot of glass on them. They have a couple viewports. Yeah. But the other thing, too, is also, we will find out later from Ruby Rose's character that it's also this high-density polycarbonate.
She's invented a material, in pretty much. Granted, again, dumb science, but I kind of like if you're going to have an impossible thing, at least be like, yes, this is my impossible thing. I discovered the impossible thing.
The other thing, too, is if you look at the fronts of the ships, the glass they do have, they're in spheres.
Yeah,
which is the strongest structure that we know of.
Yeah, if you're going to be crushing something, you should put it in a circle.
Yeah, but, I mean, the submersible has the seal around the side of it, so it's not a perfect sphere.
Yeah,
so,
if you wanted to break it down, of course it's goofy, but, like, at least they thought about it at all. Because it could have been very easy for them to put a normal-looking sub, or even one of our current exploration subs down there. And that would have just kind of ruined the vibe of the whole film. Especially because we've got a really cool designed base, which we see from multiple angles, both inside and out. Well, I might as well match the sub.
Yeah. No, I I agree with that.
Yeah.
But once they've inserted themselves
Oh, God.
into the underlayer, there's a whole freaking ecosystem down there with giant squids, isopods.
I did my phone, but not my laptop. Dang it.
Oh, good.
You've got to give props for the designs and the creation of this underwater world. Mm-hmm. It looks great. I like it. I would be very happy if someone just did a fly-through of this area with no story whatsoever. Just some music and a fly-through of this fake underwater world.
It reminds me kind of like a little bit of Journey to the Center of the Earth when they get to, like, all after the lava, there's just this lush landscape.
Which, let's be real, all I'm really looking for is another version of Journey to the Center of the Earth. I love all versions of that movie, including the one with The Rock.
I haven't seen that one. The last one I saw was the one with Brendan Fraser.
Another good one.
Yeah, that was one of the first movies I saw when I moved back to the States. But anywho, so they're down there. They've launched these lights to illuminate the mysterious dark world, and they proceed to get attacked.
Yeah, which, granted, I feel like we should have known that one, because, like, it's going to be dark down there. We go in with all the lights, like...
Well, and on top of that, that's how things communicate underwater, is that deep is they use bioluminescence.
Yeah, so... Oh, I apologize. No, we're thinking of the same Journey to the Center of the Earth. I just, for some reason, put The Rock in that movie in my head.
I don't know.
He belongs there. The next one. He'll be in the next one.
I mean,
who
knows?
There's supposed to be another one. We'll see. But I do appreciate that, granted, the normal populace knows about underwater light communication, the bioluminescence that the down there spooky fish and things have. So again, pseudoscience, but it's based off just enough nugget of real science that you're like, yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, and I mean, they get attacked, they're stuck in the bottom of the ocean, and who you gonna call? Jason Statham!
Oh, I hope I never get in that much trouble.
Oh, God.
That would be terrible. But yeah, they decide that they've got, like, 18 hours or some nonsense like that.
Yeah,
so they're gonna fly all the way to Thailand real quick.
Yeah, because this is what's supposed to be off of Hong Kong or something.
It's some number off the Hong Kong coast, and, like, I don't even think it was far enough to actually be in the trench. I think the number was too small.
I have no clue. I didn't do too much digging on that.
I used to really be into the trench and, like, deep sea fish. So I came into this movie with a lot of background knowledge that's unnecessary.
But anyway, so they go find Jason Statham.
Yep.
He is a drunkard in Thailand who owns a fishing boat.
A really shitty fishing boat. He doesn't even man it himself. He hires other people to run it for him.
Which is what I thought about when we brought up that he's out in this area.
Yeah.
Is he's quit diving, but he still has a connection to the water. Because if he didn't want to be anywhere near the water, he would have gone to somewhere like Nebraska.
Here. He would have gone to here.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Our water here, not that spooky. I mean, it's a little spooky. I learned recently that we have a lake somewhere in our state that has jellyfish in it.
Yeah, we also have an entire buried city under a lake.
That's our own fault. We did that to us.
Yeah, I mean, that's on purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go find him. He's a drunkard.
Yep.
And
I do like his line, because his dialogue at the beginning is very much what the audience is expecting. And he knows that, and he's just going to come out with that. You know, you're going to try and bribe me. I'm going to tell you no. You're going to try and appeal my better sense. I'm going to tell you no, because I don't have one.
So let's just crack a couple cold ones and
get on with this.
Have a good day. But then, of course, they tell him it's his ex-wife. They're deep down there. Yeah. His one true friend is like, you know what? You know what's down there.
Yeah. And, like, they managed to convince him, because she manages to yell out before their audio cuts out that he was right.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, some of it is, you know, oh, my ex-wife is down there. But I think more of it is, I'm going to show these fuckers that I was right.
That, and also kind of a redemption, because he couldn't save those three men from the beginning.
Yeah, he does. Somehow, in this movie, he does not save quite a lot of people.
But, I mean, at the same time, he's under a high-pressure situation that
And don't get me wrong, like, saving at least one person is better than saving nobody.
Yeah.
But this is an action fantasy movie. The death count is real high.
High enough.
High enough.
High enough.
High enough. For a shark movie that was meant to be taken moderately seriously.
Yeah.
We do gobble a lot of people.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he's coerced into it. But during this time frame on his way there, we cut back and we find out that they've repaired the ship a little bit. Yep. And then the lights come on and they get attacked again. The wife now has a screwdriver in her stomach.
Got hit in the spleen or something.
Toshi is writing his
wife a letter, which is honestly saddest part of the whole movie.
It's sad, but I also like it. And this is actually why I think this movie did well enough. Is because we have these kind of stereotypical characters, but then they have like these little moments of humanity to them where before we're like, okay, he just wants to screw all the time. But then we learn he's just a dude, but he actually cares for a wife. Yeah,
it would have been very easy to write him as an even more stereotypical nerd dude. Mm-hmm. Completely single, down here for fun, terrible jokes. He's still got terrible jokes, still a nerd dude, but he's got a wife somewhere, which makes him more of a rounded character, because he could have just been a little bit more flat. Yeah. And, I don't know, it adds a very, weight to the situation. Because a lot of shark movies is the shark surprise attack you. Yeah. And then by that point, it's too late and we're on a vendetta, we gotta kill the shark. And at least at this one, we get a couple of moments of oh no, we're probably not making it, guys. Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing, too, is, because, later on we learned that, Jason Statham and his wife's, marriage was, tumultuous. Yeah. It lasted less than a year and they were done with it. But it also shows that I don't, honestly, he would have gone down there regardless.
Yeah, but, no, I don't, I think the ex-wife is up front a ploy to be like, oh look, he's going down there for his ex-wife. Yeah. But I don't think it was a factor at all.
No, for him it was, honestly, it was a redemption of him trying to save lives of the 3 he couldn't get before. There's 3 men down there, there's 3 men he's trying to save again.
Yeah, it's very poetic.
But yeah, anyway, they get attacked by the shark, and then Li Bingbing's character she takes their glider, that's what it's called, which looks kind of like the ship from Star Wars, the Gungan ship.
It really does. But, water version.
But, yeah, anyway, so she goes down there because they don't have time anymore, because they've just been attacked. They're running out of time.
And their air tanks have now popped or some nonsense.
They have, half the time now. Yeah. And she doesn't, no one fully trusts Statham's character at this point.
Fair assessment.
But it's, I don't know, again, just typical action movie. And so Statham gets there, and we find out that the doctor on the facility hates him because they work together. He's the one who told him he killed those men. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
He was there that day, and he had chalked all of this up to psychosis or some nonsense.
Deep sea psychosis or something.
I don't know.
I think I tried looking it up, and there is something related to it, but it's not.
I don't think we have enough deep sea psychosis episodes to qualify it. No. We don't go down that far in real life yet.
We have James Cameron did, but
yeah. We don't have a vast amount of people. Normal people aren't. We don't have a bunch of people going down there.
Yeah. And, that's, we talk about character building in this a little bit, and we also, there's that little cutscene when he's getting into the ship, and there's a little drawing the little girl wrote the name of what she's calling the ship in it. Yeah. And then he gets down there, she's in there, and he has this oddly fatherly moment with a kid. It's
a very sweet interaction, because it would have been easy to write him as his normal character, which is hard ass all the time. Mm-hmm. And instead we do get a little bit of humanity from him here.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think that's where this movie shines in being the kind of movie it is, because normally, again, like you said, he's constantly a badass. And
it's action all the time. Exactly. We don't have time to talk to an 8-year-old.
Yeah. And, it slows down the movie Not really, honestly,
No.
because right after that he's like, okay, I'm gonna go save your friends, and he goes in, and they're
then shuts off all power and just nosedives to the bottom of the ocean.
Nosedives, has the nosebleed.
It's ridiculousness.
Bing Bing's character gets attacked, and then he gets her out, and he's like, go. Well, she gets attacked by a squid, and then the squid gets eaten by the shark.
Which coolest scene of the movie. I love that shot of the shark flying over her. Mm-hmm. Oh, I live for it.
See, and I like that the squid attacks her, because we kind of forget that, okay, there's other
big creatures down there.
And that leads to a little bit more of the believability of it, because for the megalodon to even exist down there, it has to be eating something big.
Yeah. Normally, and by normally I mean way back in the time of way pasties, we know
way pasties.
I once wanted to be an archaeologist, and then I tried to learn all of the different time periods of old dinosaurs and pre-dinosaurs and early mammals, and there are too many. I can't do it. So now they're all just the way pasties.
I learned I can't tell the difference between fossils and rock, and I'm partly colorblind,
that wouldn't help.
No, it wouldn't. No, because I mean, we talked about it previously that we both wanted to be paleontologists or archaeologists because of Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park.
I was ready to do it. I went to Diggs as a kid and volunteered. It was so cool, and I don't know, I kind of forgot about it as a passion, and now I am I'm an architect.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm retired, I'll go back and get that degree. But we have fossil evidence that megalodons did eat big whales.
Yeah.
Because we've got a spine piece that has been chomped in half, and it's got teeth marks on it. So we know what the full-size adult ones ate, which means that there has to be something big enough for even the real-life ones, which are arguably smaller than the ones in this movie, to be eating. And then on top of that, you also need something that these smaller ones can eat, because you don't just get a giant shark. Even nowadays, sharks don't just suddenly become big. They have to start with something small, usually fish. So,
well, I mean, that's anything in life.
Yeah, but it's nice that they bothered to create this undersea world, because it does help a lot. And
it adds to the believability.
Yeah, because if it had just been all right, giant shark, one giant squid that has fed all of the giant sharks, at least they bothered to think about a few other character fish to put in there.
Sure. Squids aren't fish, but sure.
They are now.
But yeah, no. And so she's sent back up because the squid has tried crushing her. Yep. She's not going to be able to save them. So Statham gets down there, and he's already down there, and he has no lights on.
Yes.
And he's getting them out, but it's about to explode, or I'm trying to remember what happened at that point.
Something goes terribly wrong, sort of scenario.
Yeah, and they're getting everyone out, and they leave Toshi behind.
They leave Toshi,
but Toshi is
Toshi sacrificed himself. Toshi leaves himself behind.
Yeah, Toshi is the one who closes the hatch because he knows they're not going to get out in time.
Yeah.
And, it's going to self-implode. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, they get back up to the surface. They're getting, his wife to, see the doctor or whatever.
Their one medic guy who doesn't trust the other guy. That guy.
Yeah, and then, Bing confronts Statham saying, hey, they were right about you. You let someone die again.
Yeah, which, harsh, but
technically, he went down on his own. You're aware, but he comes back and he's like, you're down there. You go down there. You know what the risks are.
Yeah,
which is a reason I don't go into the water.
Fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, and so we get back up and they're trying to figure out what's happened. What's the next set of moves? Which
I like this part of the movie, but I also don't, because as architects, we fully comprehend what a $1.3 billion building and an underwater building entails. Granted, this is the weird future that we have magic technology plexiglass, but still, you don't just up and abandon that big a building.
You'd find something else for it. That's why all these Olympic facilities are still there, is because they invested so much into them, and then they don't have anything to do with it.
We could have an entire podcast over complaining about buildings that aren't used properly or like cared for properly anymore. So we're gonna leave that little complaint right over here in the corner.
Yeah, that's a huge.
And tomorrow, when we talk with our other architecture friends, we can bring it up, and all of us together can bitch about it in front of my husband, who isn't an architect and doesn't care.
Exactly. And so, I mean, it's also important too, because we talked about the building of the other characters. Rainn Wilson's character, that's how we learn who he really is. Yeah. Because he's not just this super cool, like, oh, I'm gonna throw money at this thing and hopefully get something out of it. He's like, no, I spent this much money. We've destroyed 2 things that are multi-million dollars. And what do I have to show for it? Nothing. I don't know what he's going to get from this discovery. There's not exactly science money out there for that. Yes and no. So this is the one part that me and a bunch of other reviewers who I watched in preparation for this, they have, without a doubt, managed to capture on film something that the world has never seen ever before in his life. And he currently owns the only facility that can get down to it. That right there, if he is the smart businessman that he is perceived to be, will not stop him. This is like a whole new world chapter for him. Yeah. Like, at the very minimum, turn the deep sea part off and have people walk around that cool ring you've got, because apparently it magically attracts thousands upon thousands of fish. And whales! Yeah. No, I mean, they said they brought the whales in with song. Yes. But that was my other thing, is like, you see all these kinds of movies, and that's exactly, every time you go in the water, that's what you see is... I love that visual, but I've watched a lot of free diving with whales. No, I'm sorry. That's not what the deep ocean looks like. It's very Disney-esque. It's very filled with beautiful fish that are fun and exciting, as opposed to... Under the sea. Yeah, it's very under the sea, as opposed to the reality, which is maybe 1 or 2 fish, and like, if you call whales and are lucky, maybe a pod of whales comes by. Yeah. Fun little thought I had about the song Under the Sea. Yes. Do you know why Sebastian the Crab sings it? It'd be weird if the prince could hear a random thing. So, like, 'cause he's just hearing random, like, cricket noises screeching at him, and a crab standing on a lily pad going, or whatever noise crabs make. Simpler than that. Of the underwater people we've seen, he's the only one who goes between sea and land. This is true. Wetter is better, take it from me. This is true. He is a crab. It would have been hilarious if he'd been a lobster, but lobsters aren't as cute as crabs. And they don't go on shore. They shouldn't go on shore. No. Weird cockroaches. I mean, horseshoe crab. Well, that's a crab too, but horseshoe crabs are less cute than crabs. If you're gonna Disneyfy something, it has to have a face so that you can put cute lips on it and eyeballs. True. Yeah. True. Anywho, back to the movie. So while they're having the discussion of the meeting, Statham's just kind of chilling there, and Wilson's like, why is he even here? Is he part of the team? And everyone's like, duh, yeah. Yeah, he just risks his life to save these people. And he can't leave. He's in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, exactly. I mean, where's he gonna go? And then the little kid comes up, and... Yeah, if anything, why is this child here? Like, I get it, her grandparents here, her mom is here, but like, at this point, I feel like maybe we should find a helicopter to take the innocent child away. And Dad's off with a yoga instructor of some kind. I love that line. That is hilarious. I don't know. They say something else, but yeah. And so she goes off and wanders on her own. And while they're trying to talk about like, hey, what's our next move? I do like that they used modern kid clothing for the scene, because modern kid clothing is very much how this kid is dressed. She's got a shiny backpack with wings on. I have seen countless children with weird unicorn or winged backpacks. She's got light-up shoes, which, let's be real, we all wanted as a kid, but when we grew up, those were expensive, and now you can get them at Walmart for like $5. Well, I had light-up shoes at one point. You fancy child. They made me go faster. Yes, my parents, of course they did. My parents also did this thing that we never thought about it when we were kids, but like they would have us wear shoes and say, hey, now go run with them. See how fast you go. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, parent lies. I love them. Yeah, she's got light-up shoes, and then she's got a cool light-up BB-8 with no head. Yeah, it's like a hamster wheel toy. It's like a little hamster toy that she can pilot around, which
Good use of energy, child.
It's more like that, the ferret toys attached to a ball, but without the ferret.
Yeah, it's a little robot for her to play with, and it also lights up, which, again, on brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because she is in a science facility, and she is the only child, she looks off place, but if you look at real kids, she's dressed pretty, like, she's not dressed in a way that you're like, wow, why is this child so lighty-uppy?
Not those fake mannequin kids, but real children.
Thinking of you, Gap. Those kids are weird.
But, yeah, so she's doing her kid thing, and then she's walking around the facility, and I actually really like this shot.
Yeah.
Because now the shark starts to loom, and it's coming for her.
And I like this part, too, because we get at least somewhat realistic shark behavior. Shark sees something it's interested in, and sharks, can't see super great. And we can assume that megalodons probably didn't see super great either. Probably why they were attracted to light in this movie is because light's easy to see. And sharks, from what I've read, touch things with their mouth to find out what it is.
Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of people, when it's a shark attack, they're bitten.
Yeah.
But they're not killed because...
Chopped in half.
Exactly, because they're just coming up to figure out, is this something I want to eat? Because apparently actual man-eater sharks aren't as common. We don't taste good, apparently, to some species.
I think we don't taste good to most things except for, ticks and mosquitoes.
Pigs will eat us.
Pigs will eat anything.
Yeah. But yeah, so the shark is looming there. It chomps on the glass.
So cool scene. Such a cool looking scene.
Which I'm very curious. I mean, we're going to question it because
this is who we are.
But, I mean, that they estimate that the megalodon's bite force is 25,000 to 40,000 pounds per foot.
Yeah.
And that's...
pretty big.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, it literally would take whale bones in half.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not side little bitchy thing about the building.
Yeah.
I just questioned the strength of the glass. And also remaining intact.
I appreciate, though, that the glass did stay intact and didn't spring a leak. Because that would have been unnecessary. This building's so big and clearly designed that, like, we would have just shut some doors and called it a day.
Yeah. But yeah, anywho, so there's it's powerful enough to
crack the
glass, or not crack, just penetrate the glass, or insert itself into the glass. And on top of that, shake the entire facility.
Yes.
Which is how they're worried, like, they're not worried about, like, an earthquake. It's immediately, where's the child?
Where's the child? Which might be her entire role in this movie, but I still like it.
Yeah. But yeah, and so they go, like, we gotta stop this thing, we gotta hunt it.
At this point, the movie's pace goes from a light jog, which was already pretty fast for this movie, to just a full-on sprint. We're gonna do everything really fast.
Yeah, the whole, we need to go kill the shark thing. And so they get on this yacht, they go out there, they're all trying to, like, how are we going to track it? There was a ship, we know it's attacked a ship.
Yeah.
So it's finding where the food sources are, and they go to kill it.
Yes. They've got poison, they're going to poison the shark.
I'm just thinking of that stupid scene in the Batman movie. The anti-shark spray.
They have anti-shark spray. They're going to attach it to a harpoon. They're going to harpoon him. Honestly, this is arguably the dumbest part of the movie. Because the harpoon only has 100 feet distance. This is what we've got, guys. We've got all of this brand new technology, and this is what we have as an undersea technology facility.
What are we doing? We're sending Statham in.
Yeah, he's gonna swim over there and do it. Yeah, this is the part where the movie goes from, like, oh, okay, alright, to, we're gonna just swim over there and poke the shark, are we? This is that part of the movie. Granted, I still love this movie, and even the second half of the movie is phenomenal to me. However, I do think this is where, for most viewers, it starts to decline a little. They're
going to insert the poison into the shark.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not letting that line go. But yeah, so push comes to shove, they kill the shark. People almost die.
People almost die. There's a lot of splashing in water, they finally hoist this giant shark up onto the boat, which I have questions about their hoist.
Oh, that's...
That crane does not look like it should be able to hold that shark. It was a very large shark, but in true Jaws style, it wasn't the right shark at all. The bigger shark comes and eats the smaller shark, which is already a really big shark.
Billy Mays here. You thought you had the biggest shark. Here's an even bigger shark to kill your shark.
That's a lot of damage.
It also eats the... Well, no, that's right, because poison, once it disintegrates at some point, so I don't know if the shark would have been poisoned.
I don't know, but we're not allowed to eat fish with mercury in it, so, like, I don't know what the poison rate is.
Well,
I don't know. Also,
I had
like,
mackerel and tuna cakes today, so I can't say much.
I don't know. But the bigger shark comes, eats the smaller shark, is apparently not satisfied by eating this giant other shark, and continues to harass the boat that is now flipped over, which I like the flipping over scene, with the exception of one part. Everyone on the boat flipping over scene feels like a proper disaster to me.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like the boat is falling over, nobody has time to Titanic it and run to the other end of the boat and, like, wait it out. People are in the water, people are getting hurt in the water. You know, we try to hang on the rail, but it doesn't work, we fall in. Except for our badass man himself, who holds onto the rails until his new girlfriend falls in the water. And then dives into the water after her face first, because that's definitely what you should do in an emergency.
Yep. Yeah, and then, so... They get away from the shark. Wilson's character calls out for his company to bring to scare the shark away with guns.
His bodyguards come, track the shark, and shoot some guns at it.
Yeah, and then rescue everyone who survived.
Yes, which at least he does that.
Mm-hmm. And so we're back at the station. We're like, oh no, there's another shark. Well, we got to recuperate a little. We'll have to go and bring it down. Let's regroup.
Yeah.
And so this is also the part where we get some eye candy.
Yes.
Jason Statham comes out of the shower.
I do like this scene because it's the interaction is cheesy and corny, but she walks out and goes, "Oh my God, you're naked." Her definition of naked and mine are very different. That man is wearing a towel. That is not naked.
Close enough.
It's close to
close
naked.
Enough for the rating the movie has.
Fair. But as someone who used to work at a pool for many, many years, the towel counts. You're not naked. You could have Speedos on under that for all I know.
True. The mystery towel.
Mystery towel counts. You can walk around with that on as long as nobody knows.
Is he wearing trunks or a banana hammock?
Again, both of those options at all of the places I worked were valid options, despite one of those being a water theme park. It just feels chafy to me. I don't know why you'd want your butt cheeks hanging out, but you do you, boo.
Freedom.
I guess.
I have no clue.
There was a lot that were shaped like the American flag, so, you know, you do whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't like being in water, as you guys know, so no, not for me, but so...
He's mostly naked.
Mm-hmm. And she proceeds to take a second peek.
I do like her attempting to be flirty and it coming across awkward. Because,
yeah. Well, because it's supposed to be. She's been out of the dating game for so long that she doesn't know how to flirt properly.
But I also like that the awkwardness that they went with was just awkward enough for it to feel like it's something she thought of on her feet at that moment, as opposed to like a corny line that someone took weeks to think about.
Yeah.
It feels quick and like dumb, which I like. It feels more natural. The whole interaction feels more natural than a lot of, like, steamy romance setup scenes where it's like, no.
Teehee, I saw his penis.
I saw his butt. Yeah, no, it feels more natural. The flirting in it feels more natural than a lot of movies that both of these actors are in. Yeah. So, like, I like it.
And
it
also,
passes.
And also the kid is approving of it because Statham... still cares for his ex-wife. Marriage might not have worked for them, but they're still friends. So he goes to check on her, and she's playing cards with the kid. And
I do like that the little girl wins at their gambling game, and then is told that she's the one who owes a soda pop. That is not how gambling works. But I guess if your kid doesn't know that, take advantage of it till they find out.
Yes, lies to tell children.
Lies to tell children. If you win at gambling, you're the one who owes soda.
I can't wait to scar nieces and nephews. My favorite one that I've heard so far, every time you touch something in the store, a kitten dies.
Oh, no.
But again, I'm a horrible person, so like...
I mean, it works.
I love that stuff. But yeah, so... And the movie slows down a little bit, which is nice, too, because we just had a big action scene.
Yeah. And as a shark movie, you know that now that we've established that we have a giant shark, the next action scene is probably going to be the last one, and it's going to take up the rest of the movie. Slash,
not really, because the next scene, Wilson's character, he's like, I've already called the Coast Guard.
I do like this part, because it does establish him bad guy-y a little bit nicer than some other shark horrors where he's just a dumbass.
Yeah,
This one, he's a businessman who doesn't want lawsuits.
Yeah, or not necessarily lawsuits, but he also still wants to make a profit for it.
Yeah.
Because he's going to go out there, they're going to kill the shark, and they're going to make money off of the biological discovery, which, like, the part where they go out to kill the shark, or what they think is the shark.
They blow something up.
Yeah, they're dropping depth charges.
Which is hilarious just in general, but I like these most corny, dumbest part of the movie is when they go, yeah, there's bits everywhere, and he goes, good, got him.
Yeah, and then the guy goes down there and it's like, I don't see any teeth. I think this is a whale.
I do appreciate that, because it's also assumed that they blew this thing up so much that bits of it managed to hit a man in a helicopter. Mm-hmm. Granted, not hovering high, but high enough. High enough, but not so much as it blown up that someone who's not a marine biologist whatsoever, a normal bodyguard for a billionaire guy, looked at it and went, I think that's a whale.
Yeah.
So, top notch.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean...
Which, I like how quickly the bad guy character goes from having maybe a redemption with caring about the people on the boat and, I'm mourning with you guys, to being a bad guy, to then...
He's just a cold-hearted CEO.
To being a cold-hearted CEO, to then being eaten. Like, that slope is a real quick slope, which for a shark movie, I like. I'd like the bad guy to be there, but I also want him eaten really quick, so I feel satisfied.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing, too, because he's not really, like, a bad guy. He's just a shitty asshole CEO.
He's just a shitty asshole, but in this movie, because, that's how this works, he gets to be the bad guy other than the shark. Yeah,
and... I was just thinking, this is the only second horror film I've seen him in, the other being House of Thousand Corpses. Yeah. But no, I don't know. For him as an actor, because he has such an iconic look.
He does.
And he was Dwight for so long. Yeah. And we were talking about John Krasinski before this episode.
Oh, yeah. The guy who plays Jim in The Office.
And just like how
iconic those characters are.
And this is probably the first role I've seen him in where I'm like, oh, that's Dwight. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's the guy who played Dwight.
Well, and I like him in this movie because I'd seen him in others where he's not playing Dwight. He's playing a completely different character, completely different world, and he still felt Dwight-esque in some of those. In
like, this one, like the rocker.
Yeah. In this film, while I did look at him and go, I think that's Dwight, I didn't then spend the rest of the movie focusing on the fact that Dwight is being an asshole. He just was in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I like. And I think that's a good turning point for actors who have had those roles to get into. Mm-hmm. Because after that, well, then you can slowly start building into something that's not that character that you were known for.
Yeah. And so we also kind of get this weird part in the movie where they kind of talk about like Mother Nature, where it'll equalize or whatever.
Yeah.
And I honestly kind of hate that in movies where it's all these eco-friendly movies are treating Mother Nature as like this benevolent being. Mother Nature doesn't give a shit.
No, Mother Nature doesn't care about you or your feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why like I like watching videos where Americans are on safari and they're watching a lion hunt a gazelle, and they're like, oh no, get away. It's like,
no,
that's what happens. Shit dies.
It is what happens. I will say that I do like that this movie put out the idea that like, oh, Mother Nature, and like, maybe this is how the world is supposed to work, and like, we're just tampering. Mm-hmm. But then the movie itself answers to that question and goes, no, the shark is not supposed to live here.
Yeah.
The shark is definitely not supposed to live here.
And I was just looking at my notes. I kind of skipped over probably the saddest thing in the movie. Toshi's wife isn't going to get her letter.
No, we don't know that. Because if you follow the letter's potential route, so the potential route is it goes to Toshi, to, I think the character's name's The Wall, or something like that.
Yeah, The Wall.
The Wall, who then gives it to Granddad, who then has the opportunity to give it to Daughter.
I don't think I caught that bit then.
Well, I don't think the note is ever shown going anywhere past Granddad, but Granddad also isn't eaten by a shark. He's taken back. So if it's on his person or in his room, we can assume that someone can find it, and Toshi's poor wife, while granted probably not quickly, will at least at some point be told. It just won't be by The Wall.
Yeah.
Because the
sad he died.
I am too, but at least they're together again.
Yeah.
Best friends.
Yeah. But, anywho, so, back to the climax of the movie.
The best scene of the movie is coming up, in my opinion. Not because it's visually stunning or amazing like the other scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Just the pure thought and childish joy that the idea of a really, really, really big shark swimming through a really, really, really crowded beach and just nomming away.
Yeah.
It's like those really terrible video games that we used to play, like, back in the oldie internet times, where, like, you click on the shark and you drag him around and he just goes nom 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 and eats everything, and your goal is to just eat all of the things.
I don't think I've ever played those games.
You're missing out. It is just recreating that, and we get to answer some really fun questions, like what happens if a giant shark eats a guy in one of those weird bubble things?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think it's also kind of... I actually do like this part, too, just because it kind of shows an extreme contrast of how disassociated humans have, or how much humans have detached themselves from nature.
Yeah.
To a point where we're casually hanging out in an area where normally you can't see much past your feet.
Yeah. With
things actively trying to eat you.
Yes. And I also like this one because we do get the Jaws reference where the one and only Western-looking person on the beach gets the chance to yell, "Shark!
Shark!"
Which, adorable that one person managed to see it from way over there when this is one of the most crowded beaches ever. And from videos that I've seen online of similar beaches, the day that they filmed this wasn't even the most crowded that I've ever seen.
No.
I've seen it so packed that, like, it is bumper to bumper level swimming.
Ugh.
You better really want to be out there for a long time because you're not coming back in.
No.
So, but we do get our little Jaws montage.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets to panic and come back to the island, to the beach. We get attached to one very cute, chubby little boy who really wants to swim.
Chubby little boy and some little rat of a dog that jumped off a wedding picture boat.
The dog has a name.
Of
and
course it does.
The dog's name, I think, is very similar to the dog's name from Jaws. It's like a couple letters off. I don't remember. But yes, the very cute Yorkie. Don't worry, if you're one of those people who will not watch a movie if the dog dies, the dog lives. The dog is fine. I do question how long this little Yorkie Terrier swam in the ocean for, but it seems fine. It's just wet.
I would have been fine with it dying.
It would have been like funny in a dark, twisted way, because like
exactly,
oh, the dog in Jaws, and like this is also a dog, and like this is a giant Jaws, but like the fact that the dog lived is kind of also ironic, because like all of these other dumbasses didn't make it, and this little tiny dog did. Like that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
and like it's not even like the dog like waited it out on land. This dog's like paddling around in the ocean
for
like 15 minutes.
But doesn't also make a big splash either.
No, it's a very small dog.
Yeah, and so now what is their plan? They're gonna go blow up the shark.
They're gonna blow up the shark. And in some of the coolest, dumbest shark action scenes, we get a really cool shot of them slicing the shark from head to tail, which I think should have probably killed the shark. Because they managed to slice it fairly deep with a submarine that's like broken, kind of.
Yeah.
That part, pretty cool. And then we also get a really cool, like, 3D-esque sort of scene where the shark's jumping up and our hero plunges his giant knife into its eyeball.
That is one thing I will say about the movie, is because we know very, very little about the megalodon or how they lived, but we assume because they were similar to the great white shark, they were ambush predators.
Yeah.
How it keeps attacking stuff in the water is always from the bottom, minus the one looming scene.
I do like the looming scene.
Yes, it's cool.
It is cool. But yeah, we can assume that they're probably similar to how
Great whites
currently hunt. So, plunging a knife into its eyeball, valid.
Yeah.
Feels fair. Fair way to kill a giant.
Yeah, Statham's he's going to bring the shark down even if it kills him.
And of course it does not, because he is our hero. And of course we're scheduled for a sequel, so he can't die yet.
Yes, that's the one thing I was going to bring up. Because, it's a typical ending. They kill the shark. And that's the one thing I do appreciate. There's not like that after credit scene.
No, when it's done, it's done.
Yeah, exactly. Where I think that's a smart method for making movies, especially with these kind of films, is there's been such an upturn of these bigger budget horror films where there's a little bit of something at the end, and that little bit of something is always a setup for a potential sequel. Yeah, exactly. It's the stupid shit from the slashers of the 70s and 80s. Yeah, and in the 70s and 80s it had a dumb quality to it where you're like, okay, I see what you're doing. And now it's more of like, how much money can we make so that we can make a second one immediately to then make more money? Everything needs to be a franchise nowadays, it feels like. And I liked that the Meg threw itself out there. It left itself open for more, because we don't get answers to like what the first shark that attacked, how it got there. We don't know anything about that shark. It's just stated it was there. And the way that they present all of their fake science, there's options for how that shark could have gotten there. Yeah. And then we're also left with, like, at one point she says, like, 20 sharks could have gotten through that hole. Which, granted, at no point do we see another shark. If the movie ends and we don't get that second one, no one's gonna feel like, oh my gosh, I need another one. We're not gonna get another Van Helsing moment. No. But which we did learn. We spoke too soon. There is gonna be a second Van Helsing. I'm so excited! I will be there. Oh yeah. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, too, because it's Momoa and Peter Dinklage, and I love Dinklage. Even if it's garbage, I'm excited. Oh, you know it's gonna be. But, you know, that's okay. Yeah. That's what I'm here for. But I like the Meg's approach to, it has enough world built that there could be a second one, unlike kind of how Jaws did it, where, like, Jaws was dealing with normal sharks in a normal world. Yeah, of course there's more man-eater sharks out there. There's always more man-eater sharks out there. But it doesn't feel the same level of... There's a voodoo curse haunting our family and killing my sons! Yeah, you had to get kind of goofy there with the sharks, with the Jaws sequels. Whereas the Meg sets itself up from the get-go with a full world, full potential of more giant creatures. I mean, we've already established there's a giant squid down there. That'd be scary. I'd be down to watch a giant squid movie. I mean, we do have Sharktopus. That doesn't count. I was thinking more like, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, yeah. Which, I love that movie. But, it sets itself up from the beginning with all of these possibilities, but at no point does it, make a promise to you. No, exactly. And, I think that's why I'm okay with this movie, too, is just because it does that. I don't have an expectation for a sequel. Because who knows? The sequel could actually be better. Oh yeah, no, there's potential there for, enough people went and saw this movie and rewatched this movie that, they know they have something that people like. Yeah. It didn't suffer what most shark and water monster movies did, where it had to wait till it came out on DVD, and then even then it had to wait till it was streaming for it to really get some ground. No, Meg did great. Yeah. I mean, critics hated it, but let's be real. Of course critics were going to hate it. Oh, yeah. It's a giant shark movie. Yeah, I mean... It's not breaking any grounds. It's not rewriting any history. It knows what it is, and it didn't even try and, do anything new. Yeah. But, that's okay. Exactly. And, I mean, I think that's... You gotta take any critic's word with a grain of salt, because we're critics. Of course. Everyone who comments on something, you can call yourself a critic. Yeah. Other critics might criticize you for that, but welcome to the game. Exactly. And, I mean, there's always going to be that niche of what people like. Oh, sure. And, granted, I think a lot of critics go into things with hopes of, finding the best of something, or to be a game changer for the world of cinema. That's what they're mainly looking for. Whereas... we're mainly looking to have a good time. If it changes our perception, cool. But at the same time,
we knew the Meg wasn't going to change anything,
No.
even when we first went to the movies to watch this.
We went in thinking it was going to be absolute total garbage.
I was prepared to waste all $12 of my movie ticket.
Yeah.
For a birthday gift to go see this with my friend.
Yeah.
And I wasted maybe $10 of my movie ticket.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun, but...
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about a little bit of something different from the movie. Just because, and not necessarily answer it today, but in our infinite wisdom, we have picked 3 very similar actors in upcoming reviews.
We accidentally have.
And I came, like, I was just thinking while I was watching The Meg, first off, when did baldness in men become
cool
/ except, like, kind of macho, because for a long time, like, you look at a bunch, I would say probably Bruce Willis in
Bruce Willis definitely he definitely made sure that was there was no going around the fact that this bald man is a badass.
Yeah, but specifically we've seen a kind of a rise in recent years, like
there's a good number of fancy macho bald guys going around.
I mean, we have currently, that I can think of off the top of my head, we have The Rock, Vin Diesel, Jason Statham, and Batista.
Yep, yeah.
Those are 3 major actors who are bald. And macho roles.
Yeah, and not even just macho roles, but, like, arguably they always play macho. They kind of have typecast as, like, if you see them in a movie.
They're the big action heroes.
Yeah.
They're not Nicolas Cage from Con Air, which is making fun of that style of film. But before then, they all had long, or they just had thick hair. Like,
I love the old pictures of The Rock from his wrestling days.
Oh, yeah. Escape from New York.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be something just to do a little bit of thought in the future, just because it's kind of something to think of, because Statham's not really bald. He has he has really short hair, but it's
well, and I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, I feel like Terry Crews, that is a macho bald man right there. I feel like like our lifetime, I don't think when we've ever not had bald macho guys on screen for you and me. But yeah, going back and watching these older movies, especially recently when I have gotten on this new kick of terrible 70s and 80s macho flicks, now that I've accidentally watched Beastmaster last week, I've watched a whole bunch of very similar movies since then. And yeah, no, bald for a sidekick, maybe. For the main actor, no. Yeah. Definitely not. Flowing hair, almost girly length hair sometimes. And, like, some of the movies, granted, that's a typecast, they're trying to be Viking-esque, and, like, that's kind of the, standardized thought. But on some of these movies I'm watching, there's science fiction movies, or they're a horror movie. And yeah, no, everybody's got at least, hair long enough to style. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I did finish Beastmaster.
Yeah. How'd you like it? Yeah, that's about right.
There were tits.
There were. I miscounted originally. There is one single boob earlier in the movie that I missed originally watching it. So there are 5 boobs in this movie.
Yeah, you also failed to mention that the love interest was Donna's mom from that 70s show.
Oh yeah, by the way, it's Donna's mom.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Anywho, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do think that being a bald actor nowadays, or even an actor with really short hair for a guy, I don't think it's as typecasty as it used to be.
Short hair, non-military cut.
Yes, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I don't know. It's just something for us to maybe explore while we look at some of our upcoming films, because we don't really plan stuff very well. We plan, but not very well.
We plan, but not in details.
No. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a little curio that I've just been thinking of. But
yeah,
so
good point.
At the end of it all, Chris, what would you rate The Meg?
I love The Meg. The Meg is one of the shark movies that I watch every year. It kicks off my Shark Week. It's replaced Jaws as my favorite shark movie since it came out.
Not shocking.
No. I think Jaws is a really good group movie too. It's dumb enough, it's actiony enough that even if you're not into the ocean terror movies, you know, it's not so ocean terror-y that it's off-putting.
It's a good summer pool movie to scare children.
Yeah, like it's a good dumb shark movie.
Yeah.
But it's not so dumb that it physically hurt my husband to watch it. I tried to get him to watch Sharktopus. We got about 2 minutes into the movie and he couldn't anymore.
This is also the man who couldn't sit through the first 5 minutes of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because there's too much staring. There's a lot of staring at the beginning of that movie. Oh yeah. That's gonna be on the guys' night to get him to watch that one. I've tried twice now. I've given up. I'll enjoy it on my own. But after the Keanu-thon, we might do a Clint Eastwood or something. Oh, Clint Eastwood-thon would be good. Yeah. He has a lot of good ones. But yeah, no. If you like a good dumb shark movie, this one's way up there on your list. You're gonna love it. If you do not like a dumb shark movie, I would skip this movie altogether. You're not missing anything. Yeah, I quite agree with that. Personally, I will probably never pick up this movie again until we decide to watch it as a group night. Fair. It's just, I don't know. It's not, as my mother says, it is not everybody's cup of tea. But if it is your cup of tea, this movie will outshine a lot of other shark movies that you'll watch. No, I completely agree. Because last year I watched a lot of sci-fi. You managed to get through all the fill-in-blank here headed shark movies, correct? Yeah, they're all just blank headed shark movies. Yeah, 2-headed, 3-headed, and so on. And granted, those of us who like shark movies have been reduced to that level of terrible shark movie. Or Sharknado. Exactly. Or Sharktopus. That sort of level is... Whale shark versus Barracuda. Yeah. And so, for those of us who like ocean horror, and specifically shark movies, we don't get a whole lot in the movie world. So, like, this movie is like a shining, beautiful light for us. But it's the pinnacle of shitty shark movies. It is. However, if you're not into shark movies at all, it's not worth your time. No, I can't recommend the movie, honestly. I mean, that's fair. It's fun, it's cheesy, but... It's a good dumb movie, but if you're not into this specific genre of dumb movies, there are plenty of others that you would like better. Exactly, so... Anywho, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. Thanks for listening. Peace. Just keeps with me. Until it eats you.